All right, welcome to the channel, folks. I got the Kid Rock American flag t-shirt on. That means we're going to be talking about America, freedom, democracy, and our military. It is Memorial Day 2021, so I'm coming at you special with a special Memorial Day book haul, collection, library, tour, all in one, where I'm going to show you all my military books in honor of our military, and I'm going to show you all of my World War II history books and Civil War history books, Revolutionary War history books, everything I got in my collection dealing with the military. You're going to see it. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you will notice later on today, I will be making some honorary posts for Memorial Day, honoring our military on both Instagram, Facebook. So look forward to those. I have been to a lot of the World War II sites, and I filmed a lot of stuff there, taking a lot of photos of myself at those sites. So look forward to those, seeing those on my other social media. But for now, let's get to my military book collection. For those of you who don't know me, I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both published by Simon & Schuster Saga Press. And today we're going to be looking at, like I said, my military books. I've got these great collector's editions. The History of the Army, a great book about the Army and just its history. Picture book. Similar with the Marines. History of the Marines, history of the Air Force. You know, these are great books. You can get them at Barnes & Noble. Everything you want to know about any of our armed forces, the Navy. And let's just talk about what gets war started in the first place. So some of the history books I'm going to start with, you might not think that they would be history books that you want to read, but you do want to read these. Because these are the reasons we fight for democracy and freedom, folks. These are the reasons. Start by reading books like The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. That will let you know why our American soldiers that fought in World War II, our citizen soldiers, British, Canadians, Americans, Australians, we all fought against the fascist dictators and the evil lords that wanted to destroy the world. This book by John Tolland, this Adolf Hitler, John Tolland actually knew Adolf Hitler. And this is the greatest biography of Hitler that you can ever read. This combined with Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, those two books right there, if you read those two books alone will school you in why we fight for our freedoms. Not only that, but I've got books on Auschwitz, a lot of the concentration camps, the Diary of Anne Frank. I've been to Dachau prison camp. I know what those places feel like and look like 70 years after they were operational, and they are still grim, horrid places. And we need to visit these sites. I've been to Omaha Beach. I've been to the Anne Frank house. I know what it is like to walk in the places where great soldiers fought and where evil deeds took place. And then it's up to great men like Churchill. I got my biography of Churchill. I've got my biography of Eisenhower here somewhere. I won't look for it. Trust me, I got a biography of Eisenhower. But anyway, took great battle commanders. Now let's go over the World War II books. Let's go over some of these. Unbroken. This is by Laura Hillenbrand. Unbroken. This is a great story about a soldier he was on a ship. The ship sunk. He was cast adrift in the Pacific Ocean, had to fight off sharks, watch all of his ship crew members get eaten by sharks. Then he was rescued out of the water. Well, not really rescued, because the Japanese captured him, put him in a slave labor camp for the remainder of the war. And this is his tale. great tale of heroism and perseverance unbroken. Perhaps you saw the movie. If you didn't see the movie, get the book because the book is dynamite. Sorry, I'm doing this selfie style, which I don't normally do. But I wanted to kind of... I don't know why I'm doing it, actually. I don't know. The Last Full Measure, How Soldiers Die in Battle. There's a little bit of a writing advice, folks. For you, those of you that were writing epic fantasy or grimdark fantasy and you've got big battle scenes, get this book, The Last Full Measure, How Soldiers Die in Battle. It is a great tutorial on what it's like on a battlefield, how the soldiers feel as death surrounds them, and all of the above and everything about that. So if you want to get a good look at what soldiering life is like, this is a great, great eye-opening story and harrowing. What we've got is one of my favorite books on D-Day, and that is D-Day by Stephen Ambrose. I've been to Omaha Beach, and if you look on my social media today, I'm going to post some photos of myself at Omaha Beach and at the Memorial Cemetery there, so look for that later. But this is a great, great book about D-Day. It is a whole book about one day in World War II when those that fought for freedom and democracy stormed the beaches in Normandy, France, Omaha Beach, Juno Beach, Sword Beach, and began their crusade against Hitler and the Nazis. Band of Brothers, another Stephen Ambrose book that talks just about the 101st Airborne. They also were part of D-Day, and they were the 101st Airborne. Man, they marched all the way from France into Germany, right up to Hitler's Eagle's Nest, and took Hitler's Eagle's Nest. I've been to Hitler's Eagle's Nest. It's a wild place, folks. And it's up in the Alps, the top of the Alps. It's the fortress that Hitler built for himself up at the top of the Alps. The 101st Airborne of the United States Army took that over. Those Army Rangers, man, they were badass dudes. And maybe you saw the HBO series Band of Brothers, which documents that whole book. And then we got Citizen Soldiers, another one by Stephen Ambrose. Yeah, the people that fought World War II were citizens of the United States. They were not military people. They were drafted or volunteered into the Army. And that's why that's called Citizen Soldiers, because these are just school teachers, car mechanics, farmers, high school, college students. I mean, they were citizens. And then they were soldiers, and they won freedom for the world. Into the Wild Blue, another Stephen Ambrose book about the flying aces of World War II and the P-51 Mustangs and the B-17 bombers. Oh, and then the Pacific. Maybe you saw the Pacific, the follow-up to Band of Brothers by HBO. They did the Pacific too. This is a book based off of, this is the book they based the Pacific off of by Hugh Ambrose. Great, great book about our campaigns in the Pacific to defeat the Japanese. Masters of Air. This is one of my favorite, because I love the B-17 bomber right there. You know, the B-17, if maybe you saw Memphis Belle. But I used to build little models of these books. Not these books, of these B-17 bombers when I was a kid. I was obsessed with the B-17 bombers. But this is a book, Masters of Air, all about the B-17 bombers and the guys that flew them. Savage Continent. What a great, great look at what it was like to live in Europe after World War II. People forget that there was an aftermath. Once the Nazis were surrendered and once Hitler was dead, Germany had to rebuild itself. In fact, all of Europe, including England and everything, Russia, it's a savage continent. The entire continent, from the tip of Russia clear to the tip of England and France and Spain, it had to rebuild itself. It was a dark, dark place, but they've rebuilt it. Those of you that have traveled to Europe know that it is rebuilt and it looks magnificent. And so kudos to those people, because it sucked right after the war. And this book here just shows you how much it sucked in grim, realistic terms. Let's go to the Civil War. This is my favorite little Civil War book. It's just a Signet classic. It was written a long time ago, like 100 years ago or more, and it's just a real brief, it's not, it's thick, so it's not brief, but it's a great, great description of the Civil War from the beginnings to the end. If you just want yourself a nice, quick tutorial, that's the one to get. This one is by Harry Hansen. Good book. Flags of Our Fathers. This is another great book by James Bradley. If you saw the Clint Eastwood movie of this storming of at Iwo Jima and the flag raising at Iwo Jima. Great, great story. Another, probably this is my favorite. I'm going to switch hands here, folks. My arm is getting tired of holding the camera up. That's how weak I am. The camera is small, folks, but my arm almost couldn't handle it. I don't know what kind of soldier I would have made. But let's talk about Flyboys by James Bradley, probably my favorite World War II book of all. A lot of people don't know this, but this is about George Bush Sr., our president. A lot of people don't know that he used to fly these airplanes in World War II. His squadron was shot down over a Japanese island. There were 7 pilots, 7 planes shot down. George W. Bush was rescued out of the water at the last seconds. All other 6 pilots were taken captive by the Japanese, and the Japanese that took them captive did not treat them well. In fact, they got hungry and cannibalized and ate all 6 of those pilots. A lot of people don't realize that George Bush Sr., our president, narrowly escaped death in World War II. His entire squadron was eaten. It was weird. It's weird history. His entire squadron, all but him, was eaten by the Japanese. Now to my favorite World War II trilogy of all time. And that is these books by Rick Atkinson. Starting with An Army at Dawn. The war in North Africa. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize. They think that the war started with the storming of the Omaha Beach in Normandy, but we were actually involved in the war a long time before that, in Africa, fighting the Nazis in Africa. And then we fought the Nazis in northern Italy and Sicily before we went to Omaha Beach. And this is a day of battle, which is second in the trilogy. And then the third book in the trilogy is when we finally get to fight the Germans in France and in Germany. And this is Guns at Last Light. The final book in the trilogy where we destroy the Nazis. And the great thing about Rick Atkinson is he's such a great historical writer that he did that trilogy of World War II. Now he started a trilogy of the American Revolutionary War. With the British are coming. So this is cool. This is book 1. The other 2 books haven't been written yet. So Rick Atkinson not only did a great World War II trilogy, he's now doing this American Revolutionary War trilogy, and I am excited. Those are my memorials. So that's in honor of all of our military personnel who fought for democracy and freedom around the world. That is my military historical nonfiction book collection. I hope you found stuff you could read. And let's all honor our military personnel.